Hello, welcome to JIBRIN Angle on Oweleke TV. My name is JIBRIN, and this is my angle. Barrister, thank you once again for joining us. Viewers, this is Barrister Austin Mantas. For those of you this is not your first time, you definitely will know his face. So, Barrister, thank you once again for joining us today.
My pleasure to be here.
All right. Please let me play a video, then we'll talk about it.
Thank you for the courage to say that Canada denied you. They can go to hell. Even though it's painful, it's disrespectful, but we are people. We are strong. And I agree with you. We have to fix our country. We have to do it well. Yes, this disrespect is too much. So, yet is another reason why we work hard to make Nigeria work and be respected. On that, I want to thank all of you. If you are on permission, I probably was announced.
All right, Barrister, I don't know, I get confused. That was NSA Nuhu Ribadu. He was talking about, the CDS, the Chief of Defense Staff, was denied visa by Canada. Canada denied him visa. I don't know if you have read that. Sorry?
I'm aware of the incidents.
Okay, yeah. So that was the NSA who was condemning the whole stuff, and you heard it. I don't know. Did you hear him clearly?
I did.
Okay. Now, I don't know. What do you think? I will play another video, but before that, let me ask you. I need you to answer this briefly. Then I'll play the next video for us to actually talk based on context. What do you think about Canada denying our Chief of Defense Staff visa?
Well, you remember that a delegation was supposed to go to Canada for, I think they were a memorial for departed soldiers.
Yes.
They were going to go there to pay their last respect. In the first place, it was a totally needless trip that they wanted to embark upon. Secondly, the language that Ribadu used was not appropriate for a person of his status. Thirdly, the problem, as I understand it, was not really from the Canadian embassy. Some of them, out of the delegation, some were granted the visa, some were not. From what I heard from the Canadian embassy, they were supposed to have put they used a French term, diplomatic memo on the visa application to identify the very senior officers of government. A sort of note that they did not put. So these people are not like us. And some of these things are computerized. And once a particular requirement is not there, no matter who is involved, it will not go.
Do you think?
So
do you think that was the reason behind this denial of visa?
I cannot think.
Denial of visa to the CDS.
I do not at this moment have any other reason.
Okay, hold on. Let me play this next video. Then we'll talk about it further.
I just can't understand why anybody will wake up and say that we're killing people when we're actually not doing the same. And guess what? Where the Giwa barracks we were talking about, we have all the humanitarian agencies working there. You have the UN working, local and international organizations are working. Are we saying they are complicit? There is nothing we're doing in the back. So if they don't say it, which means Amnesty International is equal, and Amnesty is equally there. So which means they're equally accusing all these other organizations of being complicit.
So just to be clear, you would be prepared to go to the ICJ in The Hague and answer these accusations?
We're not scared of anything because we don't have anything of such.
We've seen Boko Haram regroup and regroup and regroup. What is your answer to that? That you have in some way fed the insurgents?
The problem is that I think we've talked to international community. Let's find out the funding. When they started surrendering, by the time we left, so as we speak, we have over 120,000 that have surrendered. Most of them, when you find them, they are coming with hard currencies. How did they get them? How are they funded? How did they get the training? How did they get the equipment?
What is your suspicion?
Well, maybe an international conspiracy. You don't know. Who knows? How are they be able to sustain themselves for 15 years? That is one question I think everybody should ask himself. For Nigeria to be able to hold them, and you go to Nigeria, everything seems to be working well.
You must have an idea. I mean, let's not talk about international conspiracy theories. Let's give some hard facts.
Well, I just leave it at that. I'm sure they know, and I'm sure everybody knows that these are the challenges we're facing that needs to be addressed. So the UN need to come in to ensure that, because we need to trace the funding. How are they sustaining themselves for 15 years?
What does the UN coming in mean? What does that look like?
Track the funding. It's international flow. We don't have control over that.
Whose interest is it to see Nigeria destabilize?
Well, I don't know. You don't know. Your guess is as good as mine.
All right, Barrister, did you hear everything he said? That was
before today.
Now, this man, we have watched his video before. I think we've talked about this issue before, where he did the same. He was bold enough to actually criticize what is actually happening, the security situation in Nigeria. He actually insinuated that the Western world seemed to have hand in it. In this video, this was an interview with Al Jazeera, the most recent interview with Al Jazeera. He doubled down on what he said previously. Now, my question, let me rephrase my question. Do you think that the CDS was denied Canadian visa for this video, what he said on this video, how he has been so critical of the West over the insecurity of Nigeria, or he was denied visa based on sheer disrespect for Nigeria and disregard for Nigeria? Because the truth is, the reason you gave earlier, you thought your opinion was it was just out of play because the Canadian authority have actually issued a response to the outcry from the Nigerian government, and I think the response was very, very short. Unfortunately, honestly, I made a mistake not to have come. I thought I didn't know we'll go this route. Otherwise, I would have come with a response, a very short response. The response was just, they didn't give any reason. They only acknowledged that yes, he was denied visa, and there was no reason. So if it was the reason you gave, the reason you noted earlier, they could have said it. Or usually CDS, for God's sake, they have the chief of defense staff. If they are going for official thing, obviously there's just no how. I have traveled on a group. I've traveled as a just ordinary Cardinal Chamber of Commerce. As a Chamber of Commerce member, we didn't even attend interviews. Somebody was the one. We just submitted our passport, our international passports, and that was just it. They just stamped all the passports with visas, and that is just it. So, not to talk of the chief of defense staff. Chief of defense staff does not process his visas or whatever, especially when they are traveling on official basis. Obviously, such visas are processed by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They have people that just picks all the passports and takes it whatever. I would have done that under Cardinal Chamber of Commerce. So that is just the reality. So that was not. So tell me, what do you think? Because I think differently. So now that you have watched this clip, I rephrase my question. Let me repeat that question. Do you think that his visa was denied the CDS based on the sin he committed against the West by being courageous enough to tell the truth, to spill the beans? Or They just deny the visa because of the disrespect and disregard they have for Nigeria based on our image.
Yeah, those two is for me far-fetched. I do not see any rationale for Canada to deny the visa based on disrespect for Nigeria or based on its criticism of the West. When it comes to the West, Canada is more or less at the background. The people fronting for the West or taking the West seriously is US and Britain, and for Nigeria, US and Britain. And now France. These are the people, the Western countries that are in forefront that are articulating in Nigeria and in the West African sub-region. So to infer that Canada denied Nigeria visa because of the outspoken CDS against the West, I think is a bit far-fetched. The same thing goes with disrespect of Nigeria. I think along the line, something may have happened that I cannot say. That issue I told you about, I read it, and it was also emanated from the Canadian embassy. But as of now, both the Nigerian government and the Canadian government are already talking to streamline or straighten up the issue. Part of the delegation got the visas. It's only some of them that did not get. Now the CDS has been, this very thing he has said it repeatedly to multiple
Media.
Multiple news organizations. And what he said is basically what a lot of Nigerians believe. For a long time
but hold on, Barrister. You know very well that, sorry to cut you short, that this is the character of the West. The West, and not just the West, even in Nigeria, usually when you speak up, remember this Azazi, the late Azazi, you remember what we all think killed him. It was when he made, just like this CDS. He was courageous. Azazi was courageous enough to actually spill the beans by a kind of indicting the establishment of corruption, including in the military. Even though he didn't mention names, but we all knew who he was, the people he was actually talking about. And thereafter, it was weeks after, he was killed on a plane crash somehow. So when you and I know that when you come out so unglued against the establishment in a public, especially when you are a public officer, either retired or serving, they will come after you. So don't tell me, I disagree with you that is not a basis in this is not a basis big enough for them to react that way. Just like you noted, Canada is not that when it comes to the West. When we are talking of the West, Canada is not a part. It's not even in the first five when it comes to the West. I agree with you. It's not that powerful. But at the same time, remember that the entire West, that there are people that actually, there are instructions from just like we have the power within the power block. There is always a memo that goes around, and this memo, when it's circulated, everybody, all of them will hold on to the memo and wait for action to take place. So probably they circulated this memo, and Canada, as one of those people in the West, decided to say, okay, the CDS didn't apply for US visa now. They applied for Canada. Canada being part of probably the power block or member of the power block in the West, they got the memo and decided to deny him visa. That is my own thought. But at the same time, I have multiple thoughts to that. That is a possibility. So I don't expect you to say, anyway, it's your opinion, but I do not expect you to say it is a baseless reason. Because this man, do you know what it means for a public official to just go and insinuate? Not just, he was really, really direct. He was direct and frank in actually saying, even when the interviewer asked him, he doubled down. and ask rhetoric questions that are insinuative.
Well, you have to go back and remember, I am aware that the West has been pressurizing Nigeria's government and Nigeria's military to moderate, I put moderate in quotes, the fight against Boko Haram and the insurgency. They come under rules of war. There was a time that the army was really killing suspected Boko Haram terrorists. And they came under immense pressure from the West, particularly from US. And the bone of contention was that don't just kill these people, take them to court. I do not for 1 minute agree with that kind of thing. For the kind of war that is being fought, for the kind of institutions that we have, and for the weak legal system that we also have.
Barrister, I'm sorry to cut you short. You are deviating. I need us to, because we're taking too much time on it. I need us to focus on this. I asked question. I need you to just focus on the question and answer, because this thing will drag us too long if you are going that direction.
I'm trying to say, first of all, I did not say that the reasons you gave are useless. I only said that to me they look far-fetched, particularly when it is Canada. If you talk of US and Britain, I would be more readily
sorry for interjecting.
Acceptable for that.
Yes, but now if that is, I'm trying to do this so that we don't take too much time. Now, if that is the case, what could be the possible reason? We are talking about the chief. That is the number one citizen in the military. He's the number one in the military. Now we are talking about the CDS, the chief of defense staff, and besides, like I said, I have experience of such kind of trip. Like I said, he wouldn't even things like this. He wouldn't attend interviews. He's not the one to pursue this visa. There is an authority that pursues this visa, either in the ministry at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, or within the military hierarchy, within the military administration. He doesn't know whatever. So what they do is that they bundle everything and send everything together, and everybody, there are designations, official designations on them. So why would they approve orders and not approve? Hold on. Why would they approve orders? Probably that are beneath his status, and not approve the Okapatapata himself.
Let me say that the issue that the Chief of Defense Staff spoke about is what he has spoken about on quite a few occasions before.
Yes.
But if you talk about the most recent happening, somebody has suggested to me that we could, in talking about this, consider the role of the CDS in elections in Nigeria, as well as stopping peaceful protest against rigging of elections and thereabout, democratic expression by people. That, to me, is the most recent incidences that could trigger a consideration of a denial of visa to the CDS in particular, not the issue of Boko Haram that has been much earlier in time. So I'm prepared to say, okay, cumulatively, the use of armed forces, military forces, to prevent a free exercise of the democratic rights of Nigerians by elections, and then to go further to stop protest by Nigerians of a rigged process, a rigged election, could be a better factor in that incident.
Yeah, but remember again, this factor you just mentioned, usually countries, they issue statements based on this. There is always a public information released to the public about some certain people being banned from certain locations because of so misconduct, some uncivil misconduct. So I do not think, again, if it were that, Canada would have received a report on that note that some certain people, due to the factors you just mentioned, they were involved in some certain illegalities or uncivil conduct. As a result of that, they are restricted from entering Canada or any other country. So I don't think that is it, because I'm trying to make sense out of the. Now I've given you scenarios. This man is CDS. Probably, I don't know. I'm not sure about that, but I think he may be the one heading the delegation. And if he's the one heading the delegation, how come the chairman of a delegation, was denied visa, while the members of the delegation, some members of the delegation were given visa? That is one. It doesn't make sense to me. Now, secondly, it is not possible. What the last scenario you just pointed, I don't think it's possible, because if it were possible, such things are not things they hide. Countries don't hide such information. They will tell you that you have, because of your misconduct or your actions that are uncivil, they decided to take you to put you on the list of no entrance into their country. So that is not just that.
I think you are just putting everything in a tight jacket. The fact that a statement is issued is one way to do it. But don't forget that diplomatically, there are some things that are out there in the open. There are things that are behind the scenes. It's not every time that they will tell you that, oh, this person is banned from entering America. They can, in a subtle way, deny you a visa just for that time as a signal. So it must not be that they will issue a statement that we will not allow this person to enter our country.
All right, but let me, and again,
what they feel displeased about.
Okay, now, the truth is, like I said, this is a possibility. I'm not saying that's 100%. This is a possibility. His courage to actually spill the beans is a possibility. And the other possibility is disrespect for Nigeria, honestly, because if not disrespect, the response, you needed to read the rest. Oh my God, I'm not happy I didn't get that. I didn't get the copy of that response. Very short response. There was no apology. There no regret, no apologies, and the response will just tell you it was deliberate, no omissions, no mistakes there. So they knew who he was. They knew who he is rather. And decided to deny him that. So obviously there is something there. And my own problem is that is the disrespect. That is where the disrespect for Nigeria, the disdain and disrespect for Nigeria comes from. Because if you actually have regard for Nigeria as a nation, as an entity, an independent entity, such response, you could have responded in a more respectful way by at least trying to give, even if it's a vague reason for doing that. They just acknowledged that they denied him. That's just it. That was what they didn't give any why they denied. They just acknowledged that yes, they denied it. They are aware of it. Of the denial.
Let me say this straight away. There was a president of, I believe, Malawi, Kamundo Banda. He was a medical doctor. He came back to Malawi, and they used to say that he was more English than the English. He had a bowler hat, a walking stick, and a dog all the time in suit inside Malawi in the African sun. He never went about without his suit, the bowler hat, the walking stick, and the dog. So he was made a caricature in Britain and elsewhere. And whenever he goes to UK, trying to even teach them how to take champagne and how to manners during dinners and all these things. They used to laugh behind the scenes. Now, nobody ever stopped him from, they knew him to be somebody like that. Now, my issue is this. Let us put our house in order. The trip they wanted to make, of what use it is to Nigeria?
No, that is,
Barrister.
Honestly, that is not. No, hold on.
No, it's a reason. It's a point. If we in Nigeria want to squander our resources, want our public officials to make useless
Barrister, honestly,
and we are disrespected. We are
sorry, with due respect. Honestly, Barrister,
we should just take it.
No, Barrister, honestly, with due respect, you are talking out of point now. At this point, you are talking out of point because that is not the context we are discussing right now. The context we are discussing, because whatever CDS, whatever official work a Nigerian official is traveling for, it is none of the recipient, the receiving country's business. The most important thing is that we are traveling for, whether it is, even if it is private, we're making an official trip to your country. Give us visa. That's just it. And this is the reason why we're traveling to your country. Look, diplomatic rules does not permit you to begin to say whether you are squandering. But that is none of the that would be crime more than the bereaved. Who sent the message? What is their business? Whether with our officials are squandering Nigerians' money, that is none of their business. That shouldn't be a yardstick for them to deny him visa.
Well, you are saying like that, but what was the response of the National Security Advisor? He said they can go to her. Let us develop our country. I'm saying the same thing with him. If you want to embark on a useless trip, waste the resources of the country, and you are disrespected in the process, take it like that. That's just it. That trip had no benefit for Nigeria.
Yeah, but
waste
but
our
honestly,
resources.
Yes,
so
I agree
in the
with
process, we receive disrespect. Let us look inward. Let's conduct ourselves in a respectable manner to avoid disrespect.
All right, but my point is that is not this segment. This segment is actually geared towards the context, because this issue of taking care of the home, Nigeria, you and I agree on that, but that is not. It's a different topic entirely. What we are treating here is why, what was the reason? What could be the reason behind Canada denying our #1 military chief? That is my point. So anyway, let's not drag this. I need to close this segment.
Let me conclude by saying that whatever we have said so far is in the realm of speculation. We may never know really what is at the root of the denial of the visa. But we have speculated on a whole range of.
Yeah, but that's the essence of what our discussion now. We're just trying to postulate. Yes, we're just trying to permutate or postulate, at least to kind of give some opinions or assumptions. So that is just it. And I have laid down the whole possible stuff. You mentioned some stuff. Some of them, to me, I don't see them holding water. But that is just. But I'm very sure that among all we have discussed, there's something. It must be one of the things we have actually we've just talked about. That's just because I don't see any other reason, for God's sake. What could be the reason behind it? What could be the reason behind it? Because
it is just the difficulty of knowing what could be behind it.
It has to do with disrespect and disregard for Nigeria. It also has to do with the courage of the CDS. The CDS has been very, very outspoken. It's not. In fact, I'm so surprised that CDS is still CDS. That Bola Tinubu is still living that. I'm surprised that the West has not mounted pressure on Bola Tinubu to sack that CDS, because this CDS has been very, very frank and forthcoming with such kind of utterances. This is not the first time, not the second time. He seemed to be giving publicity or media publicity. I don't know. So I don't know why they have not. I find it so surprising that they have not instructed, because I'll use that word deliberately, intentionally. They have not instructed, because The West are Tinubu is the West, the puppet of the West, to the West. It's a puppet to the West, and that's just the reality. So I am so surprised that they have not instructed, the West have not instructed our dear president to sack the CDS. Barrister.
Well, you also have to remember that they have compromised a lot from the strict position they had before. There was a time that the army did not allow even Amnesty International to come near their operations, NGOs to do that. But they have now allowed Amnesty International, they have allowed virtually as many NGOs that have applied to even go near the theater of operations.
Those NGOs
all
are
these
just...
things, they have stepped back from that strict position they took. They have stepped back from the kind of the killings that they were doing to these insurgents in those days.
All right,
at a point that once they identify you as a suspect, they just kill you. They have stopped that. Many of them are in detention today in the prisons, and many of them were charged to court. So to an extent, they have compromised and given into the pressure from the West on the fight against the insurgency.